Adam Kanakin here with ILET Network. We are at the 2022 ILEETA Conference in St. Louis. With me, Don Gulla.
Hey, glad to be here.
Dude,
getting ready.
I appreciate you being here, man.
Hey, no, this is the first day, so I'm really excited to get things going.
We were just talking offline. It was this morning I taught at 10 a.m. I was just like, first time it's been an in-class in so long. But to the point of this conference, it's a place where we can kind of come and hone our skills as instructors, right? Because teaching a class is one thing. Teaching a class of your peers is a completely different thing.
And that's, I think, the biggest thing I like is you can go in, and I always have friends in the back of the room, and you have to have that heart-to-heart talk, go, dude, critique me. What was it? Did I do this? Did I do that? Did I cover all the things that we preach we're supposed to do in training? Or are we really doing it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. You're here this week, and you're teaching.
I'm teaching 2 classes this week.
What are we talking about this week?
So one class is going to be, it's called the Spider Cuff Instructor class. So that's another new technology that's coming out that we'll see probably emerge in the next year. And basically it's a pair of handcuffs you can put on that I can put it on one wrist and I can extend it out that far, put it on the other wrist and retract it back. So it makes it a lot easier, especially if I have a big person, but also on some defensive tactics movement, I can put it on where your wrist is at and able to pull it back to get the other wrist. The other feature is that it has an auto double lock. So once you put it on, it stops so you can't over tighten it. So that's one thing we're teaching. The other is going to be the G-wrap position, which is a close quarter weapon retention. And we're adding a block of instruction that's going to include the combat shroud that we're going to talk about that allows you from the holster to maintain control of your weapon in that position, but still fire it without releasing it, which is kind of fun.
I'm super interested to see. Obviously, you brought the toys with you, so yeah. Let's go through them, man. What do you?
So just for the viewers, this is we have a T19 Glock. It's set up with the combat shroud, and these are the quiet blanks. So the quiet blanks, there's no bang. It allows the round to eject out. So we use these a lot. You know, people talk about pressure testing. I go, pressure testing with just a blue gun on the mat does not tell you when your gun jams. Doesn't tell me if you can clear a malfunction, and it doesn't tell me what's happening if you're putting the weapon against your body and you jam it yourself. So by putting these in, you should wear iPro, and it's not because anything comes out the muzzle, but it's because when you eject out, something's coming out, you know, the ejection port. So we use these a lot. In fact, a lot more than any other round because you don't need a lot of protective equipment, you know, even in mock scenes.
Right. Okay.
So I have this one set up, and this is a brand new setup I have because I'm looking at close quarter retention, but I've added one of the new streamlights to it because this is the position we generally teach for the G-wraps position. The one thing is that if I need to aim it, how do I aim it from here? With this, I can use the green dot and I can hold it while I search and still use it in that position. So that's an added benefit too. But to give you the effect of what happens is that the shroud basically allows the weapon to cycle, it ejects around, and allows you to keep it very close to your body. So right now, okay, I'm gonna do, there's nothing in here, it's empty, but I'm first gonna let you just hold it, and I'm gonna have you grab. Now, do you like shooting close or at distance?
Close.
All right, so close, I'm gonna have you reach over, you're gonna grab right here. Now, let that finger float a little bit so that you can still index. So right here, what would I have to do to pry that out of your hand right now?
Yeah.
There's no way I can take the gun away because it's close to your body. Now, but you see where you have to be cautious right there? So just a little bit, you have to give a little bit of a twist so you don't block, especially with like an external vest. But right here, so imagine I'm a small female officer and I got a big guy fighting over my gun. With this, she can stay in the fight, and all you have to do is keep that elbow high on me, so push into me.
Right.
That's the difference, because a lot of people want to kind of maintain control of their weapon and keep away. This is like, dude, once you grab for my weapon, I'm taking it to you.
It's very similar to me to like a center axis relock.
Yes. So the only thing we're doing with this is we're controlling the muzzle, because anyone that's trying to get the weapon is going to go after the muzzle. So what this does is it takes away that leverage point here. So what it does is it keeps the muzzle out of the way, period. So, and you'll get a chance to kind of compare this. So right where you're at, okay, I'm gonna have you put your iPro on. And so this will just be the portion that, so it is gonna eject out this way, but I think we're gonna be fine. So I want you to go ahead and put a round in. Okay, go ahead. Now, so right where you're at, he's going to probably be okay. So right here, I'm the bad guy and I grab the weapon, right where we're struggling. So go ahead and pull the trigger. Okay, now, you see what you did?
Put out a battery.
Okay, cut. Now, this time don't put your hand there. So that's where, because he can even grab onto me, but now pull it, see, pull again. So that's the control. So even if I'm grabbing here, now grab, go and sweep it. And go ahead and do your malfunction clearance. So the biggest thing you have to do is actually train with it, okay? Now, go ahead and grab over. Yeah, now from here, don't get it too close to your chest. Now lean into me. Now right here, as we're fighting, he's protecting his head here. Okay, go and pull the trigger, pull the trigger. So as we're fighting, this is your defensive position. So like when you throw a jab, that chin's tucked into your shoulder, right? So as I'm trying to grab, and the benefit of this is that if we break contact, you don't have to shoot me. You can leave it there where you need it and do what you need to do, but not pull the trigger, versus leave it in my holster till we get to the very end. There we go. So we get to the very end and you go like, God, I wish I had pulled my gun. Now we're wrestling on the ground versus how long could you hold that position? And you can throw some elbows during those positions too. So that's part of the class we're teaching on Thursday, and that's how to fight offensively from this position. All right, so the weapon's cleared here. So even without the combat shroud, we like to be able to throw elbows, especially if I put one round on a person, but they're still fighting, right? I got to take it to them, right? Because rounds to the torso will generally not incapacitate someone, period. And that's from the FBI study. In fact, Morales is doing a presentation here from the FBI shootout that they shot that the first round was a lethal round to the head, and yet he killed 2 more FBI agents after he was shot. So getting past that, I'm going to shoot you and it's done. So how long can you fight, or what position we go to if we're in a confined room and you got to fight for a minute?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. It's like, it gets really scary because it's like, holy cow. I thought the first couple of ones would put you down. Now here we are fighting for a while.
Yeah.
So live fire with this is, so at my agency, for even the GRAPs, everyone at my agency has to go through live fire on the range. So that if I'm going after it, obviously there's no one in front of you, but getting confident that if someone grabs your weapon, that I know to go to a position that I can retain it, because we lost 3 officers in 18 months taking their guns away. And what we found is that statistically, most officers lose their guns while they're drawing it. So it's kind of weird. It's not in the holster, it's not out here, but it's during that, like, holy cow, you're trying to kill me. Now as you draw, guess what? It's all released. I don't have the perfect grip, and that's where the person's reaching across and getting a hold of it or taking it to the ground.
That's really interesting. So with this system, what is the risk factor on somebody having this and clipping their wing? Kind of, if you know, like, is that a concern, or like, how does that?
So you have to take in, so this is one of the shortest barrels that we're using it on right now, the 19.
Right.
17 is not an issue, right? So, but if you're grabbing, it is, again, you have to train to it. But, well, we've been doing this probably live fire with duty weapons for probably almost 20 years. Nothing. The only injuries we've had, and this comes from the learning curve, was there's an agency that had all Glock 18s, and they were ported, right? So person's grabbing over, guess what? Those ports, right? Although the guy that discovered it said that, you know what? If I'm fighting over my gun, I'm gonna grab there anyway.
Right.
Because I'd rather hold on to my gun than worry about, you know, the blast coming up on my hand underneath. So but it is a training. But again, if you watch most people when they're struggling on the ground, that gun's going everywhere. Versus if I learn to index it to that position, you know, because bringing it up to where, without the tack light, you know where your finger kind of indexed on the front of the trigger guard.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's one that we work on quite a bit. The biggest part that keeps it in an offensive position is throwing the elbows, which is really hard to demonstrate here. So at the end of our class, we'll generally bring the smallest officer up, and with that position. So if you're grabbing even just here, right, just think how easy it is to throw elbows.
Right.
Yeah. So how can I grab your gun as long as you're throwing
As
elbows
I'm
at me?
coming at you.
That's what's hitting you. So am I going after the gun or are we getting smacked?
Right.
So now I have to decide on what's going to happen, but it gives you a chance to hold on to it and decide what you're going to do. And we all add some stop kicks and stuff to it, makes it, fun.
Very cool. That's one of the things that we talk about a lot in the instructor realm is the interleaving training and integrating firearms with defensive tactics, and how that needs to happen more often.
And that's probably the greatest. So we just finished a 2-year study under Department of Justice. It was a $750 grant, and it was to look at all the defensive tactics research, who's training what, and the research we got on back on it. The average officer every year gets 4 hours hands-on training a year. 4 hours, right? So how do we layer? Oh, you got to do taser training, you got to do CPR. So by the time they're really trying to do it, it's like, okay, make sure you fire your 2 cartridges for the taser, make sure you do this. And the physical training, how do you retain your skill level when you're only doing a limited amount of training? It's like, I want to be a good basketball player, but I never go out and shoot. I just go and play the game. And unfortunately, that's what happens at a lot of agencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is it that right now, for the industry as a whole, what is it with training that you think we should be focusing on?
The biggest thing we need to work on, based on the project we did, is one, making sure that we get rid of the silos. So that, and the agencies are currently set up to, oh, you're a defensive tactics, you're a firearms, you're a taser, you're a CIT. Well, guess what? In the real world, when it happens, it's happening all at one time. So the firearms guy going, oh, get distance and shoot. DT guy's going, oh, get in, get control. Taser guy going, oh, keep your distance. Let the taser do it. Get him to the perfect cuffing position. So when you see the people stuck with the taser in their hand because they're not moving on, they're stuck in those little training modules. So making it completely, we call it skills to drills. That means I can't just say, do this on a piece of paper, read this, and do it. They'll never do it. Because unless they've gone through the skill portion of it, it's never going to happen, especially under stress. So really putting them with some pressure. I use the analogy, learning to swim, right? Because the current generation we're getting right now in law enforcement are really not comfortable going hands-on, physical contact. So the analogy is swimming is like, I don't like the water, but yet I'm the water polo guy. You're gonna love the water. I love the water, get in here. Right. I just don't really like the water. No, you're gonna love it. You know why? Because I love the water. I don't really wanna get in the water. So how do you get someone that, you gotta get on the mat, you gotta roll. I don't really like rolling. No, you know what? BJJ black belt, you're gonna love it. I don't really. So how do we get them, guide them in the path? We call it the shallow water. All right, come on out. We're just gonna roll a little bit. I'm not gonna kill you. Okay, now we're gonna introduce this, the shallow end. Okay, now we kick it up a little level. Okay, a little bit deeper. And the goal we need is just to get from one edge of the pool to the other, because most officers on their own, if they're not going outside and seeking training, because we have programs where they can go and train for free, no cost. And guess how many people show up sometimes? 0. So when you go from that level, you have to give them a little bit of a carrot, because 1, they don't want to get hurt. 2, they don't want to be embarrassed. And 3, they want something that works in a life-threatening situation. So people want to go to the high end, active shooter stuff, but it's the low end stuff based on the court cases that turn into high. That's we got to be better at the low end. So if I can't put you in handcuffs safely and control you, and then we move to now I have to shoot you because the taser didn't work, that's where we're at. So how do we get better at the low end skills with that 4 hours of training that we don't do much hands-on? That's where we're at.
Oh man, I couldn't agree with you more.
That's it.
In my class this morning, we were talking about how we're evolving and moving into these learner experience platforms, which is completely different than an LMS.
Yes.
That it's the inverse, where it's student led, right? But giving them, it's like maybe you're a firearms guy. What I need to do if I want to get you from firearms to mental health, and you're not interested in that, is it's 1 degree movements. It's like getting them comfortable with those concepts, just like you had said, it's that shallow
end of the pool.
I love it. Yeah. Don, one last question for you. Yep. We're at the ILEETA Conference. Why ILEETA? Why are you a member? Why do you come to this conference?
So I've been I was going when it was ILET, all the way to where it's at now. And it's one of those things that allows you to see what other people are doing, kind of check the pulse of what's happening. Because as a good instructor, if you're not stealing stuff from other people, you're not doing it right. Because I guarantee you, everyone that's getting ready to do their in-service going like, hey, you got that PowerPoint for this? It's coming up in 2 weeks, right? Do you have a sample policy for the new tool that we have? So really coming here and talking to people, the networking, because for trainers at your agency, most of the time you don't have a support structure versus I can call Chad from Wisconsin, go, Chad, hey, I'm looking at doing this. Are you guys, we've been doing this for 2 years. Well, how are you doing it? What's your safety protocols? What equipment do you need? How much did it cost? You're doing it, so send me a little letter saying that you did it so my sheriff can see it and go like, oh, they're doing it, let's do it. So not being, the new kid on the block, really selling it to, and it's silly because a lot of agencies go, well, if someone else isn't doing it, we won't do it. So how do we get new innovative stuff? It's tough.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
Don, listen, brother, I appreciate the hell of you coming and stopping by and talking with me today.
Hey,
and,
it's been a pleasure.
Looking forward to catching more of your training here this week. So appreciate it, man.
All right, enjoy.